Ours is a fight for freedom. Like the fundamental freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government telling her what to do.
Vice President Kamala Harris was in Johnstown and Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania today, both of which happen to be in counties that Donald Trump won by significant margins in 2020. But Democrats see reproductive freedom as a winning issue, one that could potentially persuade moderates and even some Republicans to vote blue in November. It is something that Trump himself understands, which is why he refused to say during this week's debate if he'd veto a national abortion ban, and also made a kind of garbled argument in favor of what he called fertilization, but probably meant in vitro fertilization. The head of Planned Parenthood, Alexis McGill-Johnson, is urging Harris to continue to connect the dots, to continue to demonstrate that it is not just abortion bans. There are implications for contraception, for IVF, other forms of sexual and reproductive health care that will impact women, that will impact families, that will impact communities. Joining me now is Alexis McGill-Johnson, President and CEO of the Planned Parenthood Action Fund. It's great to see you, Alexis. Thanks for joining me. I'm really interested in the choice that Vice President Harris made today to campaign two counties, Luzerne County and Cambria County, that are decidedly Trump territory. I think Luzerne County, Trump won 56.7% of the vote. Biden got 42%. And in Cambria, Trump got 68% of the vote. Biden got only 30.8%. Now, I know abortion is an issue that motivates voters. It sort of seems doubtful that it's enough to win those counties, but it sort of seems like the Harris campaign thinks they can shave off enough voters using this issue, maybe in particular, that she improves her overall statewide margins. Can you talk a little bit about how you're seeing abortion target the sort of center of the electorate?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, let me be clear. The vice president has connected the dots on all of these issues. She understands that the fundamental right to control your own body as it relates to abortion is also related to contraception. It's also related to IVF. It is also related to our democracy. And I think she's been doing a beautiful job out on the campaign trail, helping voters understand, really getting into the granular of what that will mean in people's practical lives, right? And telling the stories as she has done incredibly during the debate. Now, I think to go into the belly of the beast, as she is doing right now in Pennsylvania, counties that are rich in support for Trump, is actually really testing the assumption of what we know, right? That the majority of Americans support access to reproductive freedom. And she's going to go find those voters and make the case to them that, it's one thing to support and stand in reproductive freedom. And it's also critically important to elect champions for reproductive freedom if you want to ensure that a state like Pennsylvania, which currently, has access to abortion, does not actually end up with a national abortion ban under Donald Trump effectively.
You know what I think is so striking in the argument she's making to those voters is that for the first time we have a candidate, a national candidate for president, a woman who is able to tell the stories of the women who've been affected by what she calls these Trump abortion bans in such visceral, horrifying detail that it can't help but move people and basically stun them into their senses. And I think the right is understanding that. John McEntee, who used to be the head of personnel for the Trump White House, reacted with disbelief today. Let's listen to what he's had to say.
Can someone track down the women Kamala Harris says are bleeding out in parking lots because Roe v. Wade was overturned? Don't hold your breath.
As it turned out, Alexis, Rolling Stone was able to track down the woman because these stories, unlike stories about Haitian migrants eating their people's pets, are real stories. And it's a sign, I think, of just how critically important it is to tell women's stories and how effective the tactic is. Can you talk a little bit about what the evolution on this?
I mean, look, it has been heartbreaking. We have heard numerous stories, public stories of women who have been sent to hospital parking lots to wait until they are just a little bit more in danger of their lives in order for a doctor to justify the treatment. It is literally the first time I heard that story. One of those stories was during SB 8 in Texas, a year before Dobbs, as they were testing what it would look like to push such a ban through. And now we are hearing more of them. Look, I mean, it is astonishing to me that that they would be questioned. I think that we are also at a moment where people shouldn't have to tell their stories in such a challenging way, like their privacy. We're asking them to share the most intimate parts of their lives and their experiences and prove that. And also very appreciative, because storytelling is actually what helps us break down the stigma. But I think what the president is doing is and what many of us are out there in terms of educating people about the very, very deep impact, is trying to make it plain to folks that this is not a game. This is people's lives. This is what, when you don't have access to health care, people experience. And when you put limitations on what doctors could do to support their patients, you ask them to call lawyers before they provide care. These are the kinds of things that can happen. And so I think that disruption that's happening in healthcare that's coming through these stories is the best way to kind of put a name and a face on the data, right? That almost half of all women are living in a state with an abortion ban. More than half of Black women are living in a state with an abortion ban. And so we expect to see many more of these stories. But, they're incredibly brave for those who are sharing them with us right now.
Yeah, and I got to say, as a matter of strategy, to react to those stories with disbelief and skepticism and say, prove it, does not seem like the right response. Alexis McGill Johnson with Planned Parenthood. It's great to hear from you tonight. Thank you for your time, Alexis.
Thank you.